So thank you, Ntan233.
Yes, thank you.
Provided you still are 233 by the time this comes out, you might be 234. Who
Who
knows?
knows? Yeah.
We always can dream that we can, grow and develop in some way. Anyway, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. You only call me if you're feeling blue. You tell me I don't pay attention to you. But if you only knew just what I'm going through, you wouldn't phone those guys who mess around with you, girl. More on that later. But first, because it's Friday, yes, it is, we have a track to listen to selected by one of our wonderful viewers. This time it is Ntan233. I'm just wondering if that actually means anything, like, on its side or whatever. But no, it's not. It's not. So Ntan233, they dropped a comment in the previous episode, Doves Walk in Fire, the wonderful Doves, and they suggested a track by Doves. They suggested a couple actually, and I chose one of the two options, which is Carousels. I've said this before, I said it again, Doves are a hugely underrated band that are the equal of any of their contemporaries, I believe. They've had success, don't get me wrong, but they're not valued anywhere near as highly as they should be. That's just my opinion. Andy, you listened to Walk on Fire before, but so you've had an experience of Doves, but clearly not this track. So
Yeah,
your
and I think
second
even that
snatch
was
of the band.
that was a couple years ago at this point,
I think
I
it
think, or
was, yeah.
close to it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's long overdue. So thank you, Ntan233, for bringing this to the channel. I look forward to. Go ahead, John.
Yes, just one thing. I had trouble sourcing a video that wouldn't get blocked. So this video is a lyrics video.
Oh,
But,
well.
them's the breaks.
Hey, that'll make part of my job a lot easier. So in a way, I appreciate it. So yeah, like I said a moment ago, long overdue. I look forward to checking out more from these guys. So let me get off and do just that, and then I will come back and let y'all know what I think. I really love this drum beat. I don't know if it's like the shuffling groove nature of it, or but it's also a bit of like the tone in the snare head and the clasp of that hi-hat. Also, it kind of dawned on me as I realized I hit play and it was just right into it. We do so many more songs that have either a gradual or a brief kind of build up or introduction, and this one seems to like just hit the ground running from the moment I hit play, which isn't unheard of, but I think comparatively speaking, there are fewer tracks that begin like that than there are those ones that have that introductory bit, which is kind of interesting when you stop and think about it. I mean, this many episodes in, it's interesting what will stand out to you. And that is one of those things where I don't know if I normally would have like kind of homed in on that. But here we are. Yeah, let's take that back and just let that beat drop again.
You just don't let go. you down.
Yeah, I love the use of like the kind of open resonant notes that the beat can then fill the in sort of the gaps between. And then that cutout right there was great before it all dropped into this next part. This guitar, I know there's been allusions to fairgrounds and then the like round and all that stuff. So obviously the titular ride, the carousel, is kind of being referred to lyrically, but there is something carousel like about that guitar right there where it seems to be moving up and down while progressing forward, which is kind of how a carousel moves in that cyclical pattern. Let's take that back a little bit. Sort of low transistory like sound, warbling.
You down.
That was really, really nice. I adored the drum beat throughout this. It was just this common, say, through line, say for the like bits where it cuts out and then drops again, and really its absence kind of illustrates its importance because when it comes back in, it kind of all hinges on that beat returning. So yeah, the drums for me really stood out, but there were other aspects of this song that were really enjoyable as well. The tinkling bit of key work, the resonance in those keys, that that jaunty little guitar bit. It was really infectious as well. And again, I like how it, for me anyway, it kind of mimicked the movement of a carousel, up and down and circular, just sort of this perpetual movement. Thought that was really cool and interesting. Obviously, the carousel is being used as a metaphor here, but for what exactly? I'm not sure. Maybe life in general. It's probably too broad of a guess or too easy of a guess. That's kind of like low hanging fruit, but maybe there's some truth behind that. But there's probably also some nuance in there that I'm not going to pick up on in one listen. But it seemed very pensive and introspective. But there also seemed to be some focus on perhaps this other individual, love interest maybe, that is making it worthwhile. As he kind of, I think he alluded to in the second verse, if I'm not mistaken, with some of the lyrical content therein. But yeah, this is I'd love to listen to this again after John and I have our discussion, to apply some of perhaps what he is bestowed upon me as far as like, backstory and information about the song and the artist that I can then listen to with earned perspective from that conversation, because it is really an interesting song. I do like the movement of it. There wasn't anything crazy, but it was there was enough there to keep me interested. So yeah, this was our second listen to them on the channel, and it was a good one. So I'm very interested to learn more about what this track is illustrating, what this carousel is a metaphor. My guess is it's life. You're kind of on it and riding it out until you're not, right? So, yeah, got some questions. Think I know a man with some answers, hopefully. So let's get back to him and discuss this track that was offered up by Ntan233.
He's back. So you've had to listen to Carousels by Doves. Please, selected by Ntan233. Please tell us what you think.
Well, I don't know if I would have hyperfixated on this opening if we weren't like a few years into doing this and listening to so much music back and forth. But it's very rare that you get a song that starts like right out of the gate. So often we have these like build-ups or lead-ins, and whether they're, brief or drawn out, it's something that I'm noticing songs and artists use a lot more than they do this tact of just the song starting. It's now, and we're off to the races. So go on.
This is, and you're absolutely right with this, but this is, I believe, a clipped. So it's the opening track of the album, and it starts with some murmurations and some bits and pieces. There's about 20 seconds of that, and they've just chopped that fucker off and go bang out the gate.
Gotcha.
Which, no
So
wonder
my
it's a
observation,
surprise to you,
while
yeah.
accurate, doesn't even truly apply to this song in its original intended form.
But
Okay.
you work with what you got.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just like lyrics in the video, we work with what we got. But well, then I won't harp on it too much. But I found that to be really interesting, and there's nothing wrong with it either. If they had intended it to be that way, it just caught my ear because
It does create a different impression straight away. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So, and to be fair, I thought it was kind of refreshing because of so many of the songs that we do either have these epic minute and a half build-ups to a 7-minute song, or it's 12 seconds of noodling about until the footing is found and then we're off. But yeah, I will say that what captures my attention from the moment I press play outside of how it started is the drum beat. It's almost like a stuttered groove to its movement, and I love the tone of the snare. Like, I'm a sucker if a snare's got I like a good piccolo snare where it's a little bit more taut. I like a good loose one when it's a shuffly beat. The way that this snare was tuned, or the kind of snare that was utilized, really lent to that kind of like interesting gait that the whole beat had. And so I really enjoyed that, but I also really love, and this is something that we've talked about, but probably not for a couple months, the clasping nature of that hi-hat that's going on. You could tell it's quite a jar. It isn't taut or thinly clasped, you know what I mean? There's some movement, there's some chomping going on in that hi-hat. And I really, really enjoyed that. I found it intriguing and engaging. Every time it wasn't a straightforward beat. There was this like I said, a stutter to it a little bit, and that had this like fun kind of interesting movement to it, maybe similar to the movement of a carousel. But I thought it was really cool, and instantly grabbed me, and it kind of outside for the two moments throughout the song where I think two moments where like the drums clearly cut out, only for them. Only really their absence underscores their importance because it all hinges on it coming back in on the drum beat again seconds after that cutout. So they were wildly integral to the whole enterprise here. The drums were. So yeah, they really stood out to me. Meanwhile, the guitar and what sounds like synth keynotes are striking these resonant notes while the drums kind of persist beneath them. And there is something affected sounding about the notes. They have like this light bit of distortion and perhaps some other sound effect that's implemented there as well. The singer then begins delivering the opening verse, and it's early days, but I can not really nail down with any specificity, not the words. Spoiler alert, they were quite there. But the overall narrative here, it sounds introspective and maybe even a little regretful as he alludes to the wrong side of town and then repeats the line, keep it going, which I thought was an interesting line to repeat, as if it's almost a reminder to himself. And then he brings up some hard pill to swallow. And he also ponders, why are we living this life we're fitted to? Again, there isn't enough here, like, from which to extrapolate any specific meaning, but it sounds like someone grappling with something. And I'm inclined to think this is perhaps maybe too broad too, but life. This idea of keep it going. Sometimes the mundane cyclicality of life and the motions that we go through would then correspond with the idea of a carousel, which not only goes round and round, but it goes up and down. So life has its ups and downs, and it sometimes feels like it's just a never ending broken cycle. So that's as best as I'm doing from this clear metaphor that they're painting here. The music then cuts out briefly, and when the next note drops, the singer rejoins, "Oh, I'm going to take you down back to the old fairgrounds." So, yeah, that's where you find carousels. And where many feels spin round. So the repeated keep it going from earlier, and now the slightly more direct allusion of fairgrounds and spinning around, both connote the song's title, Carousels. And as this unfolds, there is a beautiful guitar motif that, much like a carousel, moves both forward and up and down in its progression and notation. I could literally envision the movement of the titular carnival ride as it unfolded, this guitar bit. So yeah, I loved it. Outside of the drums, it was probably my favorite bit of music in the entire track. Um, I also thought I caught some airy vocalizations in the mix as well, which gave this already floating feeling of the song some more like added lift to it. And what I assume is the chorus refrain drops as he directly mentions the titular line, singing, "Oh, hey, now is this a sign? I'm falling down deep with the carousels in your eyes." Again, this isn't clearing up much in the way of meaning, as I'm not sure what exactly it means to fall down deep with the carousels in one's eyes, but I assume it's romantic language for, finding somebody or something that maybe breaks the monotony or the mundane, experience that is the narrator's life at this juncture when penning this song. But I was drawn to the twisting transistor like sound that appeared in the wake of that lyric. It has this warbly, distorted sound to it, almost like digital mud. And from that blossoms this beautiful little motif on the keys as the second verse begins, and we get more of those airy harmonies during the second verse. And I think it's during the second half of the second verse. If it's 4 lines, the last 2 lines were lifted by the airy nature of those harmonies. And I think we also get the allusion to the changing of the season and finding a reason to stay, and then finally an allusion to a circle of trust that we've made. So again, it's this other that he's alluding to, this other individual. Again, we get cut out. We get a cutout at the end of the verse, and then it all drops back in for a pre-chorus, just like earlier in the track. And that beautiful bit of frolicking guitar reemerges before we segue back into the chorus. And then after the chorus concludes, things begin to escalate as the notes ascend until we plateau and the drums drop back in with that killer shuffling beat, some lovely tinkling notes on the keys, and our singer doing some vowel vocalization runs in the form of oohs and ahs as the song comes to a close. So it was a bit atmospheric, this one. I really loved the groove driving drums, the almost chimey and shimmering nature of the keys, and that guitar that shines at times as well. Again, the narrative seemed introspective and pensive, and clearly relied on this metaphor of a carousel and its ups and downs and cyclical nature. Um, I'm not sure if it's just alluding to life in general or the nature of this relationship he seems to be hinting at when he mentions this you throughout the track. But that's something that perhaps you can shed light on, John. I assume you've done your homework. You're obviously a fan of this band. I'm sure this wasn't your first time giving this track a go. So please tell me more, sir.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. Interesting. Yeah, I will say this very briefly. With Doves, I think there's a few things you tend to nearly always get with their stuff. Number one for me, or nearly number one, quite often number one, is the soulful nature of the lead singer's voice. I absolutely adore his voice. It has essence of regret and melancholy within it anyway, and it naturally lends to that. And the way you're talking about introspective nature of a lot of their songs as well, this kind of moody northern noir is there within it. They also have really beautifully melodic guitars, and quite often, because of where they came from, a very intelligent sort of approach to the bass. Never been that showy, but just really clever. And they have they intrinsic rhythmic nature to a lot of their songs as well. There's a song that we found one of their songs which has like samba percussion to it, which so live they all slowly join in with the drum beats at the end and drop their other instruments, and it ends up with 3 of them or 4 of them sometimes drumming. There are a trio, but yeah, there's others with them live, and it's something to behold. It's great. But anyway, this I chose the 2 options given because of the drums, which I'll get into in a bit. But yeah, this is a beautiful and evocative song. So we've spoken about Does before, so I'll put a link into the previous episodes. You can go back and talk a bit more about the band, etc., etc. So I'll concentrate just on this particular part of their career and this album, this song. So this comes from the Universal Want. It is their 5th studio album. It was released in September 2020. It was the band's first album since a hiatus, which they started in 2010, so a 10-year gap. And during that time, the band members pursued different projects and a couple of solo things going on. So just to recap the personnel: Jimmy Goodwin, lead vocals, bass, acoustic guitar, percussion. They're all multi-instrument players, Jez Williams, guitars, backing vocals, synthesizer. He also does co-lead vocals on one track. He plays bass on a couple of tracks, and he did the string arrangements as well throughout the album. And his brother Andy Williams, not that one, drums, percussion, backing vocals, and keyboards. So rewind a bit. After they toured and promoted their previous album, Kingdom of Rust, which is Corker, in 2009, and then they did a subsequent, the record label brought out a best of compilation in 2010. Doves announced they were taking this indefinite hiatus. Jimmy Goodwin then released his debut solo album, Odd Deck, in 2014. I'll just, because I've got it, I'll show you it there. I think it's a really nice cover. It's just really interesting.
Yeah.
It's a decent album, but the sum of the parts is usually better than the individuals, and it's really good. And I love him, and I love his voice and everything, but it's not quite a Doves album. So there you go. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad I got it. And then the brothers Williams regrouped as Black Rivers, which they'd done before, and released a self-titled album in 2015. They then announced that they would be reuniting as the Dubs and performing for charity, mate, at the Royal Albert Hall for Teenage Cancer Trust in March 2019. Following the warm reception and how it all went and a few more live gigs, rumours going to circulate they're doing new stuff. In June 2020, they released Carousels, their first new song in 10 years, which is what you listen to. So it was released almost independently as of this lone shot into the dark. And then a month later, they said, oh, by the way, we've got a new album, which was released. The Universal ones, as I said, that there, it won critical acclaim and was very commercially successful as well. It entered the charts first week, straight in at #1 with a bullet, as they used to say, becoming the third Doves album to top the charts in the UK. And it's the only album where Jimmy sings lead vocal on every track, and he just shares it with that one we said before with Jez. The Universal one, say, had critical praise and met a Metacritic score of 80 out of 100. Uncut Magazine awarded the album 9 out of 10 rating and praised the album as a cathartic comeback from the kings of Northwestern Noir, Manchester band, and concluded that with their fifth album, they're taking strength from sadness, hope from despair, and wisdom from experience. In troubled times, the Universal one is exactly what we need. And the website Give Slots wrote, there is an autobiographical subtext, and musically it encapsulates perfectly 3 decades of experience and ideas. This time around, devoid of pressure and breaking free of the shackles of expectation, Doves have produced a masterpiece of a record, which arguably could be considered their finest album to date. Both Stereogum and The Guardian awarded it's their album of the week on the weeks it was released. And in the year-end lists website, Albinism ranked the Universal one at number 10 in their list of 100 best albums of 2020, and Under the Radar ranks it at number 12 on their top albums of 2020. So, lyrics.
I just gotta say, John, this is really what's really interesting is that you brought a band 2 weeks ago, Harlem, that had this 10-year break in between albums. Then I brought Death from Above 1979, about a 10-year gap between albums. And now we have a listener who's offering up a band who went through a same sort of decade break. It really sounds like people were clamoring to hear from these guys, though, which has got to be heartening for them, right? To see out of the gate #1 after 10 years of radio silence. It's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, they've got a big fan base. I just think in terms of when the conversations had about, best bands over the last 20, 30 years,
yeah,
they should be right up there, and they're not. That people will crank out the same tired names from Britpop, etc. But anyway, don't get me started.
yeah.
So the lyrics, just the wrong side of town. You just don't let go. Keep it going, keep it going. Seen the reason, the bitter pill you're told. So tell me, why are we living this life we're fitted to? Oh, I'm going to take you down, back to the old fairgrounds. Oh, yeah. Oh, where many fields spin round. Hey. Oh, hey now, is this a sign? I'm falling down deep with the carousels in your eyes. And the wheel turns round, just when you think you're safe and sound. Oh, change of the season, I've found a reason to stay. But I've fallen so deep in a circle of trusts we've made. I'm going to take you down, hey, back to the old fairground. Oh, where many fields go round, hey. Hey, now, is this the time? I'm falling down deep with the carousels in your eyes. Carousels in your eyes. Oh, the music. I love this bit. This is why I chose it. The music is based on a Tony Allen drum sample. Now, you may or may not remember, Tony Allen was the legendary drummer and arranger Fela Kuti. And that's why it's such an interesting and complex drum beat,
Yeah.
which these guys actually adore as well. And one of the few bands would have picked up on something like that and then put it into a sort of indie rock, sort of stuff. So Jez and Andy Williams put it together in a demo after Jez first started working it during a creative trip to Porto in Portugal. Upon hearing the demo when the band first got back together in 2017, Jimmy Goodwin felt it was special and insisted that they should develop it. Regarding the lyrics, Andy Williams says, it's a reminiscence of the times that we go to places like North Wales on holiday as kids, places where you had your first experience of sound systems and music being played really loud. So it has this nostalgia to it, and obviously then your place in the world now, and these images of these carousels. And what I love about this is there is a kind of joyous nature to particularly that guitar, and there's the synth parts that for me almost sound like marimba or something. It's this twinkling, and you imagine this circular movement of lights, and it's great,
Yeah, to be fair, when you had mentioned samba earlier, the first thing that came to mind was the part you just alluded to, and I'm like, yeah, that checks out. I could see them being able to successfully pull that off because there was this exotic stuff happening a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
lower in the mix, right? Yeah, yeah. And even the flow of that guitar had some kind of like Latin movement to it or something like that as well. So yeah, yeah, that totally checks out. And were the parts that I really gravitated toward outside of that just killer drum beat.
This is a really good album. I can't bring myself to say it's their best album because they've done two others that are absolutely fucking stellar, and one which I think is about equal to this as well.
Okay.
So yeah, you can't really miss with their albums. In November 2024, the band released a new single, Renegade, along with the announcement of their sixth studio album, Constellations for the Lonely, which was eventually released in February 2025. Rewind back to November 24 when they're releasing the single and making these announcements. They did 3 intimate shows, which were announced for later in that year, with Goodwin not participating due to his mental health.
Mm.
The Williams brothers shared vocals alongside an expanded touring band. So as I said before, they got other people in as well. Doves then later announced a tour in support of the album without Goodwin and with the current touring band. And then this year, Doves supported fellow Mancunian band James, and we listened to one of their tracks before, and their tour this year, Love Is the Answer. I actually had the opportunity to go and see them, and I just couldn't bring myself to go and watch them without Jimmy singing. Had a similar experience with the album, Constellation for the Lonely. It's a decent album, don't get me wrong. And my friend Rob is also a really big fan of Doves. He wanted to go and see him. He thinks it's one of his favourites, but I couldn't get over the hump of him. I don't know, he's missing on a number of tracks. No, he's obviously got issues, and that's sort of fair play. But I think he's an integral part of his voice, I really do. And they've done this before, previous albums where Jazz has sung, stuff, and it worked really well. But sort of knowing that he's missing and the reasons why, that's why this last album didn't really hit with me.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault, and it's a shame. It's my problem more than theirs. Likewise, not going to see them because he wasn't there as well. It's my problem, not theirs. And I'm
But
sure
I imagine that you rightfully designate as your problem is also the problem for several other people too, because that's the most glaring position to try to replace. You know what I mean? The voice, which inherently then becomes the face of a band, typically being replaced those are big shoes to fill, no matter who the band is, if they have a devoted following.
Yeah, and they've always conducted themselves really well, Doves, in terms of not sort of hamming it up or acting all sort of show busy, etc.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes across in their music, of this sort of genuineness. and sincerity, and rather than posturing, which you get with some bands, particularly of the Britpop era.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, Peacock, and I completely understand it. And there are times when some of my favorite artists have done it. Someone like Bowie or whatever did it at certain periods in their career. But that's I have a real fondness for the Doves because of the sort of the genuine article, as it were. And but anyway, I digress. So yeah, this was a really great shout, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. It's something a bit different about it. So thank you, Ntan233.
Yes, thank you.
Provided you still are 233 by the time this comes out, you may be 234. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
We always can dream that we can, grow and develop in some way. Anyway, I'll wrap things up. Thanks for listening, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ntan233, or whatever your designation is now. Thanks out there. Please tell us what you think. If you like this, do hit the like button and show your appreciation for a wonderful band. Drop some comments. I know I get my soapbox about Doves, but I really feel that they should be loved a lot more than they are, and in the sort of conversation for one of the best British bands in the last 20 odd years. So yeah, please drop your comments and tell us what you think. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel, so hop on board. And if you've got a track that you want us to listen to, you can just pop your suggestion in any episode. Just drop a comment and we will add it to the list, provided that at least one of us hasn't heard it. Because if we both heard it, it's pretty pointless. So as long as one of us hasn't heard it, we'll add it to the list and we will get round to it in the fullness of time, as they say. Just like an NHS waiting list. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.